Welcome to what is the 15th edition of Star 80, 80 Dolls, 80 Gowns, and 80 Years. And actually, this is a special exclusive because I am interviewing a complete stranger from Baltimore, Maryland. Now, Shannon, please tell our listeners and our viewers how you found Star 80, the hashtag, and of course, the dolls. Was
Yes.
how did you find it? How did you find us? Like I have multiple personas. How did you find it? How'd you find?
Well, well, first, I am so honored to be the first complete stranger on the show. The honor is all mine. I think that I found you actually by coincidence. It was a YouTube algorithm. I tend to watch YouTube at night. I 90% of the stuff I watch on YouTube is Diana Ross, either her videos or her live snippets or interviews. And this interview came up, recent interview. This guy and this man and woman were speaking about Diana Ross, and there was a Christmas tree in the video. And the
Oh,
Christmas tree was Diana Ross dolls. And I thought, oh my God, whoever this is, I already love them. So did a little more research on YouTube, on Instagram, and I found you, and I loved it. I loved the tree. I loved the Diana Ross doll, the dolls that you have on there, just amazing. Blew me away.
actually, it was Davy Davenport, a good friend of mine. I used to go to Los Angeles once a year to go what's called the Heroes and Legends Gala, and it
Okay.
basically I would be like rubbing elbows with like everyone that you could imagine in the Motown family, except for Diana Ross. But like, Paul Reiser arranged Ain't No Mountain High Enough, so I made a Paul Reiser. Of course, you make a Paul Reiser doll because he's being honored. So, Cindy Bird song. I made dolls of every honoree: Bobby Brown, Denise Williams, Valerie
Wow.
Simpson, who wrote Ain't No Mountain High Enough, all that. So,
Mhm.
so I'm a real full-blown Motown maniac. Motown is my medicine. And Diana Ross, as growing up, was my personal savior. And I don't say that lightly. And she's helped a lot of human beings um, get through something. Her music is medicine. Motown is medicine. So tell us, Shannon, tell us about how you found Diana Ross and why you watch YouTubes. I'm so glad that it you to being interviewed on the Star 80, 80 Gowns, 80 Dolls, and 80 Years. My self-produced and self-proclaimed celebration leading up to Diana Ross's 80th birthday. Tell us, tell us,
Yes.
tell us.
So I discovered Diana Ross. I grew up first off as a young gay kid in Southern West Virginia. I felt completely alone. And I kind of like you, Motown was my medicine. My parents had this huge record player, this is back when it was a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
It was huge, like 6 foot long, huge. In the bottom, I found this, there was lots of Motown stuff in there, but there was this one double album that just spoke to me. And it was from Diana Ross and the Supremes. And there was a song, Love is Like an Itching in My Heart. And I played that song so much. And finally, my mother was like, well, why don't you take one of the records and flip it and see what else is in there? I know, because she's probably like, I'm tired of hearing this song.
Yes.
So,
Scratch it.
um, exactly, exactly. So I started listening and I was like, oh my God, I loved the music. But similar to, you've heard RuPaul mention Diana Ross before, and the Supremes were great. But there was something about this lead singer that drew me in. And I think her story, in a way, spoke to me. She came from the projects in Detroit. And I didn't grow up in the projects, but I did feel alone. And I knew I wanted to get out and do something bigger with my life. And her life, this would have been, I discovered her like 79, 80. So I was like 5, 6.
Uh-huh.
Something there, the more I heard her interview, the more I heard her music, spoke to me personally that this is someone who's done it and is doing it on a level that no one else is doing it, and has completely blown it out of the water and spoke to me. Sure, I loved her music, but there was something about her personally that gave me the fire to go and to know that if she's doing something with her life, what she wants to do, I too can do that. And
Wow.
that is how I got into her music.
It's so interesting that through music, and putting all identity politics away, it's amazing that one musical artist could could have that influence with their being, with their presence, and with their talent.
Totally.
It's really amazing. And it's not a muse because she's not literally Diana Ross, but like Diana
Hmm.
Ross, the the figure or the persona and the energy that she radiates led you out of West Virginia. Now, fun
Yeah.
fact, Bob Ellis, the first husband of Diana
Hmm.
Ross, I believe he had a teaching job in West Virginia.
He did at
He became
WVU.
the principal and left teaching or something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I read that in one or two or three or four or five or six or seven or eight books
Yeah.
about Diana Ross when I was coming of age. So
Yeah. And actually, her Diana Ross's father was born in my hometown. I'm from Bluefield, West Virginia, which is a small town of about 8,000 people, maybe, in southern
that's,
West Virginia.
it's
That's actually
a
where
big
her father
town.
was born. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in a town without pity. There were like 800 people. And
Oh,
it
wow.
was really small. And like my father in his went to dental school and he wanted to find a place where there were no dentists. And clearly there were no dentists in Orleans County, in New York State. So we left Buffalo, where I was born, and moved to a town without pity. And I was, I was like love child. I wanted to get out of I didn't grow up in a tenement slum or anything, but
Hmm.
I knew
Yeah.
there could be a better life than this. So I was more of that Tracy Chambers inside. I was like, there's got to be
Hmm.
a better life. And I remember closing my eyes on the bus, because I would see, just not what I wanted to see taking
Hmm.
the bus to school, which is whatever. I'm as deep as a mud puddle, but not really. I just like I just wanted to be in the city. I wanted to not see grass and trees and all that. And I wanted to see people that were like me.
Yeah.
So great. Yeah. So it's coming out of this, Diana Ross help you come through and reach your highest of heights. So
Yeah.
ask you a series of questions, and I really appreciate you reaching out and being open to doing this. This is so much fun.
Certainly. Certainly. I love talking about her and I love talking with people who love her. So,
And I hope if Miss Diana Ross does see any of these videos, that I do hope that it's all positive and good and that she hears the spirit that I'm trying to evoke
yep.
and these conversations that are casual but calculated, and that I have all these same
Yep.
questions over and over again.
Yep. It's
We're gonna
funny
go.
that you mentioned that. I always think I know that she said before that she's heard the fans talk and the impact that they've had on her. But I hope that she does really hear a lot of the stories that we all share, and they're all different. But and realize, maybe she was, I hate this, but just making an album or just doing a tour, living her daily life, but it recognize what an impact she has had by doing those things on so many people and continues to do so.
So with your little intro, you're definitely a Supremes positive person. So
Sure.
the through the Supremes, Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2, the double album, that you found in your mom's furniture, and you listen to Love
Hmm.
Is Like an Issue in My Heart, but then you listen to everything from Standing at the Crossroads of Love, Ask Any Girl, and of course all the 10 number ones on that album, which Love Is Like an Issue in My Heart only went to 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't
So
understand why, but
well,
number
there was
one with
a
me.
lot of product out there, and who knows, there could have been a snowstorm or something that people didn't
Yeah.
have to get that 45. So, the question number one, deep dive beyond the Supremes classic. Which Diana Ross song holds a special place into your heart and why? Now, just before you answer the question, you could have more than one song, and
Oh,
most
cool.
importantly, think about like, when you were getting out from under after you, when you were like coming of age, getting out of West Virginia, was there a certain go-to song or album that got you through something that you didn't think you could come through, or you know
Yeah. Okay. So this will be a long answer.
like
So,
answers? I'm like run on.
okay.
You talk.
So
I'm gonna listen.
there's several songs that really speak to me. First would be Upside Down. I remember in 1980, I was 6 years old. For some reason, you remember details of the first time you hear a song and they never leave you. I'm sure you have songs like that. And I remember visiting my sister, and in my bedroom, in her bedroom that I was sleeping in, there was those old LED clocks that were like fake wood and they had red numbers on the front, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and it had a little alarm radio on there. And I turned it on, and Upside Down was playing. I was like, what is this? And I did not associate it with who I was listening to on my mother's record right off. I thought the music was cool. Who is this person singing this song? And that really started my lifelong just love of Diana Ross, and even Nile Rodgers and his work there too. I just thought the song was amazing. So that I mentioned that song because that was the first song that really just reached out and grabbed me.
Mhm.
And that really started it all. I think another song I would say that has a huge impact on me was Take Me Higher, because that was the first, I would have been about 20 years old, 21. That was the first time I ever saw her.
Ah,
Because we didn't have, where I grew up, a lot of acts didn't come there on tour. So I had moved by this
West Virginia, the
time.
place that you
Yeah,
leave. Now
it's not a big tourist stop. so, so I was visiting Baltimore, actually. In between Baltimore and DC is a small town called Columbia, and they have a great outdoor venue called Meriwether Post Pavilion. And Diana Ross was performing there, and we got tickets. And the full album, the full Take Me Higher album, didn't come out till September, and this was July. So you heard the songs, and this was before we had YouTube, before we had anything. So you heard the songs, and you may have said, "Oh, I love that upbeat song that she did as the intro, Take Me Higher." And then over the next few weeks, it kind of weakened, my memory of it. But then when I heard the album, I was like, "Oh my God, this is the song that she came out to." To see her live was just, I can't even put it into words, what that was like. And to see her, this was when she did this intro to the song, the lights were flashing and the beat was going, and you could hear her. She's off stage, take me to that place, higher, higher. And then she would run out. And this is when she debuted. She had shorter hair. It was kind of like a
yeah,
shoulder length.
skirt. She had the mini skirt.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Because with the previous working overtime, she had longer hair. So this time, or no, sorry, Force Behind the Power, she had longer hair. And then this one, the hair was shorter, and she came out in that mini dress, like you mentioned, and it was just, oh my God, it was amazing. So that song now, even when I see her performing that song, it takes me back to 1995 when I saw her live for the first time, and it was amazing. It's still amazing. That
I was
whole
actually at
album.
I went to the Northeast. I went to every Take Me Higher show before the album came out, and then I could breathe when I was at Radio City because she did 2 dates in September, which I went to
Mhm.
both. So I did Jersey, Baltimore, um, uh, and then New York and Jones Beach prior to Radio City. So I was at the show with you. So you're not a
Oh,
total
cool,
stranger. So we have been
cool. Yes, we
listening to.
have been in the same space.
Yeah. So is there a third song that you could tell us that really got you through? So Take Me Higher got you out of your own way and you got out of West Virginia
Hmm.
to go to
Hmm.
Baltimore. And then what happened? What was the third song that you think really it just really gives it to you when it resonates with you and it fills your heart?
When you tell me that you love me,
Really?
yes, I think that is maybe the most beautiful song in her entire catalog. I still remember watching The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson when she debuted that song, and she had that beautiful white sequin gown. She went out into the audience. It is still, if you can find it, if you've never seen it, it is an
Oh,
amazing thing to watch.
yeah. I
Yeah.
saw. I have it on videotape. I've had
Yep.
parties. Dustin, we've seen it, we stream it, we love it. Yeah, that
Yeah.
gown, you tell me that you love me gown.
Hmm.
Actually, I saw it for the first time in 1987 when I was in 10th grade with American Music Awards when she did the Billie Holiday tribute. And
Yep.
she did Touch by Touch in the intro. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is a beautiful song. And I prefer
Yeah.
singing that. I prefer hearing that song live over the actual single or the record.
Totally.
played on the radio.
Totally.
I had to
Yep.
throw in the word "casingle" because, it was a casingle, it wasn't a 40.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So interesting. So
Yeah.
Upside Down, Take Me Higher, and When You Tell Me That You Love Me were your three
Exactly.
songs. And When You Tell Me That You Love Me is the most beautiful song according to you, Shannon. So
I
this,
yes. The arrangement, her voice, it's perfect. Perfection. Perfection. Yeah.
so question number two, star ready question number two, evolutionary from Motown girl group to disco diva to Oscar nominated actress, which era of Diana Ross's career resonates with you the most? And how is it redefined? Basically, what if you were to there was a fire and you were in like a warehouse and you had to just grab one section of Diana Ross's career that had everything into it, and you would say, "This is all we have." It's kind of like it was Holly Madison was in the White House and that was on fire, and so she cut out George Washington's picture and rolled it up. I think that's who did it.
Yep. I
And
think
so
you're right.
I think I am too, but just oh, I'm right. So,
Yeah.
but if you were to pick out one part of Diana Ross's catalog or part of her career, and I don't think I have to unpack it for you, which of the eras of Diana Ross's very long career, because she's been singing since she's been 14 years of age,
Mhm.
Lupin Records and Motown Tamla and on and on and on. What is the era that you think really kind of cap and really is the essence of who the Diana Ross that helped you get out of West Virginia or your
I
own
would, yeah, I would say the force behind the power. That album, I remember when it first came out. Like I had mentioned, I will never forget her performing "When You Tell Me You Love Me" on the Tonight Show. But then when the album came out, this is so stupid. I was playing the CD, and I still have this somewhere. I wrote the titles down and what was the meaning of each. What was she trying to say with each song? I wrote it out in my 17-year-old handwriting, and I was just totally obsessed with that album. I think again, I think just the
What do you think
arrangement of some of
change of heart meant?
the yeah,
She does it with the microphone, which is so hard. Like, how does she do
yeah,
that? Was
yeah.
a
I
lot of
don't know.
change of heart. Like, how did she sing change of heart? Like, how did she do that? She
Yeah,
wasn't
I
lip syncing. I was there. I saw it so many times. You've
yeah,
had a change of heart. That's hard.
yep.
So
I no, go
what
ahead.
does change of heart mean to you at 17?
Oh, so let's think. So that's someone who you've been in love with that is kind of changing their mind
Yeah, you're
with you there.
the signs. It's a very dull contemporary song. When because
Yeah,
so blasé. Yeah, you've had
yeah.
a heart.
And I think what you mentioned, the adult contemporary part, I think that's important because I always felt older than I was. And I think this album, if you think about the previous album, Working Overtime, it was a different look, it was a different sound. I enjoyed it, but there was something about the force behind the power. Maybe it was that adult contemporary approach. Her look was more back to the sequins, the glamour. The messages were deep. She was talking about environmental change in like 91. We're talking about that, and I thought that was great with Heavy Weather. There was still some of that funky stuff on there.
Right, you're
Um,
gonna love it.
you're gonna love, yeah, exactly. Um, so you had a good mix of everything. So if you wanted to hear some funky music, you were still on that working overtime train. You still wanted something along those lines. You had that. You had these beautiful songs, "Change of Heart." You had, "When You Tell Me You Love Me," all of those things. So it was more adult contemporary. So to me, it spoke more to me at that time because I felt a little older than I was.
Mhm.
And I had also, I think, one of the downsides with the U.S. version is actually doesn't have two of my favorite songs on there. It's got "You and I," which was side
These
B of the single.
single, the
There you
casino.
go. Which
Yes.
I think that's a great song. I love that song. And
You-
then also, even though it went to number one, no matter what you do with "I'll Be Sure," I think that's a great song too. And I think that not enough people know that song.
Well, it went to
Um,
number 4 on the US R&B charts, not number one,
oh, I
4.
thought it hit number one. Oh
Oh,
wow, yeah, it should have.
Well, a number
Yeah.
one is a sizable hit. I mean,
Yeah.
radio was all over it, and it did sell well, but it didn't cross over to the pop chart.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the music video
Exactly.
thing, there wasn't a music video. Her face wasn't on the cover,
Yeah.
and
It was just the black screen with like I'll be sure in blue and like the wording of the yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, that I remember hearing that one, and I heard When You Tell Me That You Love Me when I moved to New York. So it was kind of fun to hear a Diana Ross song on radio, like because
Hmm.
the only song I
Sure.
heard prior to When You Tell Me That You Love Me on the radio was Telephone, which, oh my gosh, I heard that song from Swept Away all the time in Rochester, New York, and Buffalo. And it's kind of my least favorite song as a teenager. But as an older person, I appreciate the song Telephone.
Yeah,
It's got
totally.
it was ahead of its time, and Bernard Edwards can go no wrong because he did Diana, and then of course
Hmm.
Niall was involved with Telephone as well as It's Your Move. He
Yeah.
plays guitar on It's Your Move, which is the deep cut of Swept Away.
Yeah.
So these are very interesting things you're saying. When You
Yeah.
Tell Me That You Love Me, the Force Behind the Power album, I finally got a copy of it on vinyl with a gatefold, and it has a
Hmm.
hot sticker. And I love those things. Because when I was,
Yeah.
you revealed that you would write notes. I would collect all the Diana Ross hype stickers, including the Wiz and
Oh wow.
Muscles, Single Muscles, and Grammy nominee. It was always stickers on the albums. I would collect them and I would put them in. I have a whole photo album of every hype sticker from every album up until Eaten Alive because there were Working Overtime had one. But
Hmm.
then when you tell me that Force Been the Power, there were no hype stickers except for Working Overtime. Red Hot Rhythm and Blues didn't have a hype sticker on it, probably because of
Yeah.
cost.
Sure.
So I made my own hype stickers.
You are creative. Look at you.
But give me a computer back in those days until this day, I'll do anything. Like the
Yeah.
logos for this project, I created the my guerrilla marketing with taking the repurposing the Live at Caesar's Palace album and just popping in one of my dolls because I was really proud that I created this. I've been trying to make a puppet of this doll for like ever, and I just failed and failed, and then I finally, Armando posted this really cool caricature. I'm like, oh, that's it. So,
Oh,
it.
yes, 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 yes,
And of course,
yes.
the Star 80 logo, there it is. Of course,
Yep.
and I just, I know the movie Star 80, but I thought Diana Ross is a star and she's turning 80. Why
Hmm.
not do it?
Perfect.
And you know what? The algorithm worked once because you're a
It,
star. I'm talking to you. So it only happens once. It only takes a spark to get a fire going. So we got a little
there
bit of
you
flair.
go.
Okay. So fashion and flair number three. Dinah's iconic style is undeniable. Which of her looks and gowns or sequins truly really gives you the essence of Diana Ross? Is there one gown that you wish you could hold on to or maybe own or look at in a museum if they asked me to curate a show of all of her gowns? I would like to do the catalog too, but let's just put it out there. I've been putting it out there. I'm the
So the,
curator. But
there
what
are
you want me to
several. So there are
do?
several. I think there's actually the one that you just held up from Vegas. I love anything with a dolman sleeve.
Yeah, and kind of
I think
mahogany.
yeah, exactly. I think anything gowny, sequin, but if you throw that dolman sleeve, to me that screams Diana Ross. That
Yeah.
is who she is. But I
I
would
would
also,
work out with a Dolman sleeve because it really covers a lot of sins when you're working out. You don't really
it
see it
really does.
great. Yeah.
It really does. It's a great point. And then I think I also, I mean, obviously her Central Park with the, I call it the cape, when the wind is blowing and she's leaning towards the audience and this cape is just
Superwoman.
flying back. I mean, that
Oh no,
also
the
to me,
orange cape in the beginning, yes. With a
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that not only that said Diana Ross, but now some, 40 years later, 41 years later, I guess we are now. Since that show, I think that look with the cape or the piece flying in the back as the winds are picking up. To me, that screams not only Diana Ross, but it screams diva. And I don't associate diva being a bad word. I think it just says like queen. Uh,
What
I
about like,
think
doesn't it scream like ass? Like that butt is so perfect. It's such a
yes,
butt.
yes,
That's
yes,
what screams to me. It's like, what a beautiful butt. Like it's like
yeah,
so perfect. It's like everything is perfect. No, it was like
yes.
God was like perfect image. It really is a perfect image.
Yeah, and it's
Really.
funny that you mentioned that because Tracy Ellis Ross, her daughter, mentioned in an interview within the last few years, she said she was my age when
Yeah.
she was up there on that stage in that jumpsuit, that bodysuit. And she said, "There's no way I would get up there now, like that." But there was her mother at that time, at that same age, just like you mentioned, just I mean, phenomenal.
No, when you said that you were, you were a young lad and you discovered Upside Down on your mom's wooden red digital alarm clock radio. So in 83, you were coming of age, you were probably 7, 8. Do you remember the Central Park concert, like seeing it on the news or seeing on People Weekly? So you were
I
aware of
do.
Diana Ross.
Yes. So at that point in 1983, I would
Okay.
have been 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And I remember seeing it on TV, and it just yeah, I can't even put into words what that kind of cemented my love of her. I think because for days you saw these pictures of this person just performing in the rain, and the video clips of the hair and the gown is flying back. I mean, it was just amazing. And then I think even to see the speaking that she does to the audience during that time when the storms are picking up, and she's like, "I want you to be careful, take your time." This was someone who loves performing. We all know that. I mean, you can't she can't hide that, but is also concerned for her audience and their safety. And that came through there too. And I think that you saw that this is someone who, to me, in West Virginia, was bigger than life and a
Mhm.
superstar, but also actually cares. She was human. So I think that spoke to me too. But yeah,
Yeah.
I totally remember that concert
So
taking place.
this question is kind of off the seven, but like, did you start collecting all of her albums then, or did you like kind of spread it out?
I started then, and actually I had a few already, and then I remember getting "Missing You," the 45, and on the backside of that was "We Are the Children of the World."
World, yeah.
And that started it for me. And then I at that time, actually the first album that I got around that time was Ross, the 83, the red, which I think that is the best cover of all of her work. Where she's sideways and she's in the red gown and she's like looking to
She's
the
new.
side. I think Miley Cyrus, I think she kind of imitated it
Well, a
recently.
lot of people have imitated that. Even if you watch
Yeah,
Ghost, I mean, Sigourney Weaver clearly was influenced by Ray Parker Jr., who wrote the
yeah,
theme. There's a scene in it where it looks like the Ross album, which was
yep,
probably filmed at the same time in New York.
yeah,
That's my least favorite album cover by Diana Ross, and we can agree.
really,
No, you either love it or you don't. Like I
yeah,
remember it clearly, like it was yesterday, in a record store in a shopping mall in Buffalo, and asking the person behind the counter, is this Diana Ross? It was on the new releases. It was like Thriller, Flashdance, She Works Hard for the Money, and Ross. I thought it
hmm.
can't be a new Diana Ross album because it's Silk Electric. I just got it like 5 months ago, and I'm like, oh no, no, that's the new Diana Ross album. But her name isn't. He goes, no, no, it's called Ross, and it's got this new song Pieces of Ice, and they played it for me, and I thought. And so but I didn't like it. I didn't like it. But I thought, well, to give it a try. So I got to Love Again and Ross at the same day. And by 1984, I was completely collected with all the Supremes and Diana Ross. So, but Ross was the first album you purchased by Diana Ross.
Yes.
Songs in your 9-year-old head did you think, whoa,
From that album,
yeah.
Pieces of Ice. They were playing that on the radio. So that
They
song
did
got,
play it on the radio. It was played.
yeah, yeah. That was played in my hometown on our radio station there, J104. I'll never forget it. Um, that got me into it. I will say, although I think the album is cover is my favorite album cover, that is not one of my favorite songs.
Okay.
I like it, but it's definitely not even in my top like probably 30 Diana Ross songs. But I also like the song. I think it's called. It's the title. It's the first song. That's How You Start Over.
Yeah. But
I really like that song, which to me, when I listen to that, it kind of has a little bit of a country twangy vibe because
yeah.
of the bass line in that. And I really enjoyed that song too. I think that overall, the album doesn't have for me many memorable, that speak to me personally. But I loved those two songs off of there, and the cover, you can't touch that.
Wow. Well, I don't want to touch it. I don't like it. There are
Yeah.
people clearly that love it. I know a certain fan that every time he sees it, he buys it and he has
Yeah,
the copies of it.
yeah,
Right. So yeah, that's very interesting to me.
yeah.
But I actually have a memoir called Pieces of Ice, and
Oh,
I'm just secured there's going to be a young man that played Trevor is going to be doing the voice over the audiobook for Pieces of Ice. So
oh, that's awesome.
my children's it's like an all tell all picture book.
Yeah.
Um about blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so fashion and flair, we talked about the gowns, live or Memorex. Do you prefer Diana Ross live? Or do you prefer her in the studio with like in your headset where you're listening to her, working out or meditating or eating or whatever?
As much as I love her recorded, and I could listen to it all day long. You don't Seeing her live is where you totally get her essence.
Okay, I would have to
And
agree.
there is, if you love Diana Ross and you've not seen her live, you've only heard her music, I would say you're only getting a portion of who she really is. I think it comes through. Seeing her live is exciting for many reasons. Sure, you love the songs, you want to hear them live. That's great. You're also surrounded by other Diana Ross fans. I think you get the opportunity to meet other people who love her as much as you do. And then I think the third great thing of seeing her live is you get to see who she is. I think it comes through how much she loves performing and how much she loves her fans when you see her live. She has a little, this actually came from, I think, her grandson, where she does the motion over the heart, like
Yes.
that. She does
Yes.
that, and lately she's doing the heart, and she'll look you in the eyes and go like that, letting you know I see you. And I think that you get that feeling. You just really realize that um, she's not doing this just for fun. She's doing this because she knows it resonates with you. She knows it connects with you. I'm not up in her finances, but I know she could probably hang it up, and never have to work again. But she continues to do it, and she continues to tour. And I think that love of her work, her love of performing, and her love of fans really comes through when you see her live. So if you've not experienced her live, I would say you've got to do that. That is where you fully get the total Diana Ross
I've
experience.
experienced it over 80 times, so I definitely want more experiences. I want to tell you this though. Pieces of Ice, the song, you need to experience it on the dance floor. Because
Oh,
Dustin has, and I usually supply the gifts, but now it's really gone up to a level where Diana's management is giving stuff to give away to people when they go to the dance parties. But back in the day, I would give away dolls and things like that I made, or we would raffle them off. Now it's like posters and t-shirts that are authentically Diana from
yeah,
Diana's. So it's Dina, Dustin's really gone up, literally. The but Pieces of Ice when Dustin we played it on the dance floor and Dustin were the people dancing to it, but it's really fun to dance to Pieces of Ice in a disco, in a New York dance floor. It's an experience like a Diana Ross concert. It's
yeah,
so that's meant to be heard in a disco, like or in a
yeah.
dance floor, Pieces of Ice. It doesn't work on your stereo, but it really you can feel the the zebra lightning
Zebra
strike
lightning.
and the Tunisia and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. And that
Yeah,
is like the grandmother or the maybe the mother of Self-Control by Laura Branigan. And I
mhm,
think it kind of is the follow-up to Walking on Thin Ice by Yoko Ono. So it's kind of like the meat of those two songs. And of course, Laura Branigan won with Self-Control because that was a substantial hit. It went to four in
Yeah,
a year later, but that kind of talk singing thing was going on. And I like pieces of I do like
yeah,
pieces of ice, but like
yeah,
it wasn't swept away for me.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to add that to my list to dance on it in a disco to
You
that.
need to like go to a
Uh,
dance club or come to one of Dustin's dance parties if we could ever dance again in
yeah.
public. Having listening into it in a dance hall and then doing your whatever you're doing to it, your
Mhm,
vocal to it, it really does you do feel it. Just like so when I heard Surrender on the dance floor, I
mhm,
understand why that song was a staple in discos like in 73, 74, because that is a good dance song, even though it wasn't disco. All right,
yeah.
so unexpected gems. What hidden treasure in Diana Ross's music catalogs do you think just didn't get the right push or the right audience? Like, for example, radio was playing, The Nights Went Out in Georgia by Vicki Lawrence. And when I listen to it, I cry. It's such a sad song about that, Southern lawyer and just horrible. That story song. But sleep in when I hear it, I don't cry. Like
Mhm,
I don't know why, but I just don't feel Johnny is maybe it's the song of denial. Maybe if there was like a denial remix of it that you can dance to, I'd be into sleep in,
yeah,
which was from 74. It charted, went to 70 and it stopped.
mhm.
What song that you think charted or didn't chart that really deserved to have like a higher public consciousness of like the 40 golden greats, and this one would be 41. Like it would be
Mhm.
41st golden great for Diana Ross.
So this one is tough because I think, okay, so I can pick a song, but I also think the Baby It's Me album, still to this day, not enough people know that album. So I think from that album, I would say Top of the World. I love that song. I love the kind of mellow introduction that you get. It's just it's not loud and it just kind of eases in. And her voice there, she's like warmer than sunshine, baby. And it's just kind of calming. And then it kind of builds up. But I think that song would be, if I had to recommend one song that I just don't think enough people have heard, enough people know, hasn't gotten the recognition I think it deserves, it would be Top of the World. And then I would follow that up with an album. I think the Baby It's Me album, not only the music, the artwork, the photography from that
Yeah,
album
it was done
is
respectful.
amazing.
Had
Yeah,
the
yeah,
and of course had those hand tinted painting the photographs, and of course
exactly.
you can't go wrong with Clyde, Shirley, and Vanetta on the background of Top of the World. They were session singers on all the Michael Masser. They did all of Touch Me in the Morning, the arrangements, and they did background for everybody, but they're really good. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I agree with you. Baby's Me just was released on vinyl in pink.
Yep.
And of course,
Yep.
deluxe version, and I'm thrilled to say my name is in the credits as a special thanks to me.
Oh,
I love
oh,
I love
oh,
being a liner note in three Diana Ross expanded editions. Thank you very much. It's
congratulations.
nothing to be congratulated about. I don't think anyone noticed me, and that's all that matters.
That's right.
That matters. Now, I love being in a liner note in that album because that album has a special place for me. Baby, it's me.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
done respectfully, like with the sleeve and everything.
Hmm.
And it's just
Yep.
it's just delicious. It's an amazing album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's so many songs on there that are just, I mean, it's just, it's just a great album. I think of this song, Your Love Is So Good for Me.
yeah.
How could you sit still and hear that song? I mean, that is just like, I think if you were trying to force yourself sit still, and that song came on, like, one shoulder would start moving and then your entire, it's such a phenomenal, fantastic song.
Especially like the
Um,
the, the 45, the 7-inch at it. She goes, "Don't you ever leave me" at the end. It's very
yeah.
Junior is on that. He does the riff, and he of course worked with Dinah with Upfront and Love or
Yep.
Loneliness on the Ross album. So yes.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that is a very popular album within a record buying club public. It did go to 18 on the top 200, and it was a top 10 R&B, and it had two top 10s in the adult contemporary. You Got It and Getting Ready for Love. And of course, Top of the World and Your Love Is So Good for Me did make it to 15 on the disco chart. So
Yeah.
you get a chance to get the 12, I'm sure you have the 12-inch version on the Diana dance side of the Diana expanded. It's an amazing version. All right, so
Oh,
number 6, legacy in the making, in your opinion. What is Diana Ross's most significant contribution to humanity? We'll just say that. We'll change it up a little.
I think it's two things. I would say it is the story of perseverance and believing in yourself. I think she had a goal in mind. She wanted to be an entertainer. She wasn't from an entertainment family. She didn't have the connections, but she knew she wanted to do it. She persevered. She believed in herself, and she went after it with everything she's got. I think that is the top story, I think, of Diana Ross. She speaks to, as Oprah said in an interview, she speaks to the possibility. I think that for me, that is what she speaks to. And then I would also say, if you want to talk about humanity, I think her children. I think you really get the gist of who she is through her children. Her daughter, her oldest daughter, Rhonda, has an Instagram where she talks a lot about, thinking about who you are and looking inside. And I think that, you can't watch that and think in some small part, Diana Ross encouraged that beauty that Rhonda Ross shows through her Instagram. And I mean, we all see, Tracy Ross out there with her movies and with her shows. I think she just seems like a fun, joyful person, and her boys and Chutney. And I think that that's another positive contribution to humanity that she's given. But I think I kind of veered off there a little bit, but I think that, yeah, speaking to the possibility of what you can do, I think for me, that is Diana Ross.
Very good. There's no wrong answers, obviously, but this is interesting that, like, okay. So
Yeah.
we're on to our seventh question in Star 80. And of course, that we are kind of leading up to, it's Diana Ross's birthday. We're counting the days. It's 80. She's gonna be 80, Star 80. If you were to like have a dream duet with Diana Ross, like who would you're the A&R guy, so you're making all the decisions of artists and repertoire. You're from the makeup to the wind machine to the gowns, everything. But who would the dream duet with Diana Ross be? This would be her 41st Golden Great. Well, actually, it'd be probably like 70 something. But like she's got a lot of hit records and a lot of major hit records. And then there's some records that are hits, okay, and some misses. But like what would be the dream duet that would put just there's no cementing. She's already reached the top. But
Mhm.
what would be the remerge? What duet you think would make her like it would be 1980 all over again? And a little boy or girl or in between would be listening to the radio or streaming, I guess. It would be streaming and they'd hear the song and they'd be transfixed and they'd go to record stores and use things and collect everything like you did or I did. What
So I
who would
have
be the
two. There's two.
oh two?
I'll do one living and one non-living.
Okay, so you have
Living, Mariah Carey.
really? Do you have a
Yes,
song in
because
mind?
ooh, song. I don't have a song in mind. I think it would be. I think my idea of her and Mariah Carey comes about because they performed obviously in Divas Live the tribute to Diana Ross, and I think that kind of gave me that taste of I want more.
Okay.
I love Mariah Carey. I think she is super talented, and to see her with Diana Ross, I think that would be a dream come true. A little more, than we saw just in the Divas Live. And then I think that my second person, non-living, because they were a huge fan as well, and we saw them perform a little bit. He wrote a few songs. He wrote a song for her on Red Hot and Blue, Luther Vandross. I think he we saw her perform with him. Well, he came up on stage and with the Return to Love tour when they were in
Yeah. Were you in
Philadelphia.
the audience then? Oh, I was in the
Yes,
Philadelphia.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and to see
And he,
that and to know that he was such a fan of hers. Um, for even before he really made it in entertainment, he was a big fan of hers, and he spoke about that on several interviews. So, in one way, you wonder, you almost saw him up on stage, and you thought he's one of us in this moment. He is a fan, probably fanning out, sitting on stage with Diana Ross. And I think they did, was it Best Years?
They did the
Was that
best
what?
of my life in New York,
Okay.
and she did Amazing Grace, and I believe it was also the best years of my life
Yeah.
in Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know the best years in New York, so I think it
Yeah,
was
exactly.
Philly. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
But I did see that, and I thought, okay, in this moment, that's me. That's you up there on that stage.
well, he and
Um,
Fonzie Thornton, who was one of he
mhm.
Fonzie sang background on all the Diana album, and well as the work at overtime.
Yeah.
He's really a star. He just is in the background, but he's a
Yeah.
star.
Yeah.
He and Luther would fan out growing up watching the Supremes on at
Yeah.
Sullivan. He always called himself the Supreme holic, Luther.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
they grew up, and Luther was actually with on Sesame Street with Nile Rodgers,
Hmm.
was the lead singer with Susan when they would sing on television network. And then Luther did backup for David Bowie, and then
Hmm.
blew up on his own. But he
Yeah.
was always tried and true a fan, and he
Yeah.
got his wish of producing Dion, Aretha, and
Hmm.
Diana. And I think a full album with Diana would be cool. But
Yeah. Yeah.
with David Foster, anything is possible.
Hmm.
We can go in, and you and I and get David and we can just
Exactly.
do an unpredictable kind of thing, but I think it's hard for me to say should be a duet. I think,
Yeah.
and then if
Yeah.
we can get dance people happy, we can get Eric Krupper to mix it up and make it a fast one. But
There
like,
you go.
do you remember when they would make like Until We Meet Again was a ballad and they
Hmm.
did a dance song?
Oh yeah, like I think Hex
Anything is
Hector
possible.
remixed that. Yeah, and it
So,
became like it was a pretty big club hit.
yeah, went to two.
Yeah, yeah.
Ricky Martin held it off with Livin' La Vida Loca. Otherwise, it would have
Oh,
went.
okay.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
they had an Every Day's a New Day was also a 12-inch single, which
Hmm.
I refused to get any day just because I just didn't like it at the time. I
Yep.
just didn't like it. I just don't know what it is. But now, as an adult that's faced, graduated with honors with heartache and heartbreak, I totally understand Every Day's a New Day.
Yeah.
I totally do. Like it's a beautiful album. And I
Yeah.
think it was a songs in the key of her life in 1999.
Hmm.
It clearly was, it resonates with people that have experienced, disaster or
Yeah.
heartache. And
Yep.
every song is very heartfelt and performed very well. So
Yeah. And
sorry.
that comes through, that's where she was in that moment in her life.
Who
Speaking
did
of the remixes that they've done, there's one remix I cannot find, and I don't know if it ever came out, but when she was on Oprah in 2011, they played a remix to I Love You.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. Do you know anything on it?
Well, I just remember clocking it and thinking, God, what a lost opportunity.
Yeah.
Dustin and I would have had a great time. Post movement, whatever, however we'd wear the little cue card, like QR cards to people to listen to it. No, I have no idea. I've never, that whole I Love You album is it's an interesting
Hmm.
for me just because it was, I mean, back in that time, we didn't have Facebook yet, but we had like those
No.
threads on Yahoo, and it was
Yep.
I kind of got a little afraid. I was very afraid during
Yeah.
that time because it was like, these people are weird. Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
what catfishing was, but I was like, this is not right. And so I
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of like tiptoed away.
Yeah.
And then I got back into it, I guess, sort of in Facebook, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But there was somebody, Dustin, shared with me on one of those chat rooms that there was the I love you photo with the new photograph. And it was, I think, Dick's Diana Ross website was what And I said,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember him.
that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not, and I have this weird memory where I can like see things behind me and flip them in my head and like totally make it different. And I was like, Dustin, that's a Douglas Kirkland photograph from 1985. It was in the Ross Volume 2, and it's flopped, and they removed her finger. And he's like, no, it's like, yes, it is. And I was like, look, and I like got my program out from 1985, and sure enough, they were just like, it was a 1985 picture, and the
Wow.
back of the album was like her Ritz, who had died like 4 years before.
Hmm.
And it was like, I get the idea of like using older pictures to kind of make people
Hmm.
think it's like an older album or something that,
Hmm.
but those photographs that were taken by Randy State Nicholas were perfect to
Hmm.
use on a new album. But yeah, because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
looks, yeah.
yeah.
That was
I
the
think there's one haunting song on that album, the Color Purple song
What
that she
About
does.
Love? Yeah.
Yes, that I mean, that sends chills up my spine to just to even hear it, just recorded, the
Yeah.
recorded version. Just I just yeah, unbelievable how that song is so haunting.
It is a good performance, and of course, it's relevant as heck because that's
Hmm.
all the Oscar buzz with Colored Purple, and
Yeah.
with Ellie Willis, Brenda Russell, and of
Hmm.
course Madonna's long lost collaborator. Um, uh, like he was in the Breakfast Club, not Patrick Leonard, but Stephen Bray did
Hmm.
wrote the song "What About Love," and of course Stephen Bray, in my mind, could do no wrong. He's such a great talent, and Allie Willis is amazing. She did "Crying My Heart Out for You" with Mia Mansell, but she also wrote like Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the theme to Friends, and What Have I Done to Deserve This, and Over My Head, or not Over My Head, Street Beat for Tony, and Shopping from A to Z. Like these are like all over the place, but she's just so prolific and does the weirdest things, wrote the weirdest songs, but also really like put together some seriously, staples in popular culture and was from Detroit. So in our parting words there, with this unexpected interview, what would you like to say to Diana Ross if she was listening? I haven't asked anyone this, but since you're a stranger,
Mm.
I
Oh,
can ask.
well, that's the benefit of being a stranger. I think I think I hinted at it earlier. I think that just the huge impact, and I think that she knows this, but maybe just not to the extent. And you see this really again. I think this is one of the benefits of the live show. You see the people that she's touched, and she's touched them in different ways. For me, it was it was in line with what Oprah mentioned on her show when she first interviewed her back in '93. She spoke to possibility of
Mhm.
what is. And I think that if I could say anything, it would be thank you for that, for just thank you for being
Yes,
who
thank
you
you so much.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I love you
Thank
for
you
who you
for
are. You're throwing in
there,
these like,
there, right.
I want to say when I
Just
saw, I was like, I want to be just like that.
exactly, exactly. Well, I mentioned it earlier. It's just carrying out your work.
Mhm.
It's touched so many people, whether it was a song, whether it was the lyrics to a song, the beat to a song, like Pieces of Ice, or the looks, the different gowns, the aura that you gave of being strong, of being powerful, of that confidence. Um, I think that's what I would say to her. Just thank you for doing that, and I hope that she recognizes personally the impact that she's had on so many people. And it's deep. I mean, it's obvious through just us talking here in the last hour how deep of an impact that is. And, just multiply that by millions. And that's where you get the vibe of what her life and what your life it's done and the impact that it's had on so many people.
So this is a nice way to end this call. So happy birthday, Diana, in a couple in 2 months, basically.
Yeah.
Um, Star 80 gowns, 80 dolls, and 80 years. Thank you so much, Shannon, for doing this. I
Thank
will
you. My pleasure.
I need an image of you though. So you got to give me like your best headshot so I can superimpose you with the logo. And that's going to be on the cover and I'm going to push it out. I'm
Okay.
only putting it on YouTube and Facebook, so you're gonna have to friend me because they're just too long on Instagram. Okay.
Okay.
You take
I'll
time.
look for you on Facebook.
it's over. So this is an unexpected pleasure. Thank you again and again.
Yes, my
Until
pleasure.
we meet again, I might see you at another
Yes,
in
there you
Baltimore.
go. I'm in New York all the time. We come up, we take the Amtrak Acela. We were just there to see Madonna a couple weeks ago. So
Lucky you.
yeah,
Put me in on that.
yes.
Okay.
I want to meet you though at Christmas because I want to see this tree in person.
Well, the thing
So
is, it's a
that,
one-time thing. It'll never happen again. We're gonna totally go
oh,
back to the Bergdorf's look. Yeah, we gotta go.
yeah, yeah,
But this was something
I
that I
get it.
really believed in, and I knew it would work. But
Yeah, you know, it was gorgeous. It was so impressive.
well, I
Loved
hope
it.
Diana sees it or saw it.
Yes,
Our kids
yes.
saw it. I
Same.
tagged, my Lord. All right, be
Same.
good. Bye
All
bye.
right. Thank you. Nice to meet you.